Hello there, it's Jan here at JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me today. I have another project for my Halloween series. We're nearly at the end. I think this is the penultimate project, and I've kept it very, very simple today. I wanted something for my little grandbabies. I've talked about them on other videos, that they're going booing, which is the idea of giving rather than asking. And I know a lot of you said that they really liked that concept, and some people said they'd not heard of it. I must admit I hadn't heard of it when my daughter first started doing it a few years ago. But I just think it's a really nice concept to teach the children. You know, that the trick or treating, you're going around knocking on doors asking for something, whereas this way they only go to family and friends that we know, and they knock and they have something to give. So they usually make sort of Halloween biscuits or something like that, and they have little stickers and things, and they give a pack to the people that they know. So I wanted to make something to go, of course Nanny's going to give them something back, I'm not going to not do, but so yeah, they've got little treat bags. One of the tutorials previously showed you how I'd made those. And then I wanted something very, very simple. And my eldest grandson is absolutely obsessed with black cats. He would love a black cat as a pet, but they're not allowed to have one at their property. So he's having to make do with sort of stuffed toys and things like that. But anything that's got cats on, he's good for. And again, I've made this one sort of typically, yeah, this has come from a Halloween set. But other than that, you know, and I went with the sentiment, lucky is a state of mind, because I just thought, you know, it could be a good luck card. Like we've talked about, using your stash for things other than what they're intended to. So even though this cat comes from a Halloween set with a witch and some other bits and pieces, I can't remember which one it's from, it doesn't have to be Halloween. You know, I mean, I am actually going to use this one to give to the boys for Halloween, but it doesn't have to be. I was thinking more with this sentiment about it being good luck. Now, I haven't put an insert in here because I want to write a message to the boys inside it, and I just wanted to keep, I may put another layer in. I might write straight on the back of the card, but this is actually a 6-inch square shop bought card. You can just see there. So yeah, the envelopes that come with these are about 6¼ inches. So I'll be able to pop it in one of those. And as I say, I've just kept it very simple, using some scraps of paper. All the papers were out of my scrap box. If I remember rightly, this is the reverse of the dots. It had the stripes on the back. I think this is a scrap of Tim Holtz paper. This is a scrap out of my stash. And then I've got some washi tape. I love using. I've got a huge stash of washi, which I've been challenging myself to use. And then I'll show you the little bottles that I've made just as an extra decoration. So as I say, very, very straightforward today, nothing too fancy. So we've got some bits and pieces to work with. I've got my shop bought card, and I did choose to make this one on a tent fold, but we'll do it this way as a book fold today, just to show you, you know, that it can be done either way. It's exactly the same sizings on there. And then the scrap of paper that I've got, I cut in half so that I could use it on both cards. This was actually some paper that just had some abstract writing on it, and I like the fact that it had got these sort of browns and oranges in. So yeah, I've just cut it in half. It's a little bit wider. I'll be able to trim this down when I've placed it on the card. And we're going to use that as the sort of the background piece. So rather than working straight on the card, I have cut another piece, and this will be 5¾ square, no, 5½. I've come down a whole ½ inch, so I've got quite a nice border around the outside of here. So we've got 5½ inch square, just smooth cardstock out of my stash, and that's what we're actually going to work on. So I will put the card to one side, and we're going to work on here. So I want to keep the layout roughly the same. So I am just going to look at how far up I popped the piece of paper. And we're looking at, I would say 2 5/8 of an inch, I think. So we're just going to come down the side of here and mark at 2 5/8 on each side. Like so. Just to give me a guideline and get that paper straight. There are other ways of doing it, but this is just one of the quickest ways. I'm also going to bring in some of my ink, and this is actually Distress Oxide Black Soot, which is not a real jet black. It's more of a charcoal colour. So I'm actually going to do the edges of just gently, the edges of the paper. You know what I'm like with my inking. I just think it finishes the projects off. It's optional this stage, you know, you don't have to do this. But yeah, that one's ready to go. And I'm also going to put the ink around the edge of here as well. So I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pop a little bit of brown. I'm just going to use what's left on my ground espresso dauber to go round to bring this more into the card. Give it a bit of a frame. So I've not inked this one up. And then I'm going to go round the edge with the black so that it just sort of leaves a little bit of this showing. So again, I'm just going to keep this nearer the edge. And so that we've got a little bit of a two-tone effect, because we've got the two colours in the strip of paper and in the embellishments there. So yeah, just bringing it round the edge, and then that's linking it here to what we've got going on. We've got the black, we've got the brown, we've even got a bit of orange in there, which we're going to bring in with the other paper that I've got. So what we want to do then is we're going to stick this. Now then, where did I put my little marks? There, that way. I thought I'd lost them then. Yeah, I'm just going to stick this across and then trim it down. I can barely see where, because I've gone around with the ink now, I can barely see where I'd put the, it's there. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll stick this one down. I'm going to use a little bit of my all-purpose glue. It is only a thin paper, this. So I don't want it to warp. So let me just release the top of there, because that's the first time I've been in the craft room this morning. I've been busy doing the food shop this morning. There we go. Get rid of that little seal. And then we're going to pop some glue just a little bit on the back of here. We don't need loads of it. And I'm not too worried if it doesn't come right to the edge, because we're going to trim this off level with the card. So yeah, I'm just going to use my two little pencil marks that I can only just see now because I put the ink on there, but there's one there and one there. So it just gives me a guideline as to where I want to put that and get it straight. Your other alternative is to use, if you have a T-square ruler, you can pop this on the edge and you can line it up that way. I often use those for getting things straight. And then we'll just let that adhere for a second. And then I'm going to trim it and ink those edges. So just while we're doing, let that dry for a minute, I will show you the topper that I've got. So this is actually, I've used this die before. It's one of my favourites. It's an old Spellbinders die. Fleur-de-lis squares they are, and I absolutely love it. And I've just cut that out of some black cardstock. That's all I wanted on here. Let me just pop that one back. So this is actually going to be my main focal point at the background. And then, as I say, this was a scrap out of my scrap box. I've backed it on a bit of card just to make it a bit more substantial. And this was the reverse of the dots. So I've got the polka dots on one side and the stripes on the other. And it was a long, thin piece. So again, it didn't quite fit. I've cut the square down to fit in the middle of here. So this particular die is about 2 3/4 inches square. And then what I wanted to do was have the square in the middle. So I've just measured, I'm guessing about 2 1/8. Let me just measure this one. I've gone down to 2 inches. Yeah, so I've got a 2-inch square, and my piece of scrap paper was only just over 1.5 inches. So this bit will have come off the end here, and I've just put it at the bottom to create a little topper there. So that's what we're going to put together on here. So we can get that one stuck down ready, and they can be drying while we look at the other bits and pieces. So that one's just going to stick straight on the top of here, and it's got a nice sort of black border, and that glue allows me to just wriggle everything into place until I'm happy with the position, and then I can apply a bit of pressure. So let's put that to one side. Okay, just make sure that that's grabbed. Now this should be sufficiently dry now, and I'm just going to take my larger scissors and just cut level with the card and take those little pieces. I always tend to cut something slightly wider, and it gives you a much better chance of getting it nice and straight at the edges then. And then I'm just going to take the ink that's left on the dauber and bring that down that edge. so that it all joins in with the card itself there. So that's my base pretty much sorted. So this is going to go onto the card, and then we're going to use this one on here, and I have kept pretty much everything flat. In this particular sample, the background piece, the whole background is on foam, but I think I'm going to keep this one flat. Just again giving you options, you know, if you are mailing something, then you don't necessarily want the dimension. So let's have a think. We can actually pop this on our card now. So yeah, because I'm going to keep it flat, I'm going to use that all-purpose glue, which dries nice and rigid. So we've got a good finish on that one there. And then we're going to put this, and I'm going to make it, as I say, in the book fold this time. And we're going to put this one straight on that card blank and just wriggle that into place. And it's got a nice 1/4 of an inch border all the way round. Oh, I know what I didn't do. See? Because it's that, we can take it off. Oh, Jan. Do you know, I'm that eager to get things stuck together. I've got myself in a mess now because I wanted to put some washi tape on it. So let's just get rid of the strings off that for a minute. And I'm going to bring my cloth into place because I don't want that glue to stick to my desk. So let's try that again, Jan. I can redo that in a second. But I wanted to put some washi, and I've just taken a roll. I've got loads in my stash, and this just happens to be a black and white one. But again, whatever you fancy. And I ran that along the bottom of here just to add a bit more interest and bring that black and white. So again, excuse my head if it gets in the shot there, but I do want that to run right up to the piece of paper that we've put on there. And then I need to make sure it doesn't stick, yeah, to my cloth there. Okay, and then I can wrap that round the back. And then we can re-glue. So all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of pressure along there to make sure that that's all stuck to my card. And then we can try again with the glue. My goodness, it's very forgiving, this. If it hasn't started to cure, it's a good one to get on and off the all-purpose. So yeah, we can glue that up again. And as we can put that back on the card now with its other piece in place. So yeah, it's as if we didn't forget there now. So just wriggle that into place so that that border's even all the way round. That doesn't look straight. Do you know, I measured that and I think I've hit the wrong mark with the 2 7/8. No, it is. It is. Maybe it's just my eyes that are a bit wonky today. There we go. So we've got our card opening as, I've got some strings of glue now, card opening as a book fold on this one. Okay. The only reason I've changed that is because if I gave this one to my little grandson, the first thing he'd say to me is, Nanny, you've made the card the wrong way round, because he's so used to opening cards this way. So yeah, the one that I'm going to give those, I'm going to make as an ordinary book fold, so it opens to the left there. Then we can add our topper that we've created. And again, you know, I talk about this in all the descriptions to my tutorials, that all these designs can be made for any theme, you know. So whereas I've chosen to do Halloween through October, just by changing the colours and the themes, you can pretty much do this for any occasion. So again, I'm going to go with that one so that it's centred on this panel here, roughly. And I think I'm okay with that. And give that a stick down. And I've just put glue behind the square. And then I just want to make sure that it's sat nice and straight. So again, we'll just give a measure from there. About 1 inch from the, yeah, we're okay there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then let that dry. And then I've got some other bits and pieces that we're going to play with. So I'm not sure about the sentiment yet, but we've got the little cat already made. And then I've got, these are from a Tim Holtz die. And I think it's the Regions Beyond. And they're so, so cute. And I made a set of these, and I will keep these in with the die. So I cut lots of different colours. I chose not to use the green ones in the end on the card because I hadn't got any green in there. So it was between the grey and the orange. So if I just get these out and show you, they are just adorable. They really are. So on this one, I used one of the pale grey bottles, and when you cut them, you get all the pieces. So all I did was reverse them. So you've got the pale grey bottle with the label and the stopper, and then I've got the dark grey bottle with the label and the stopper. So I've just made sort of two of each. This is the alternative one to the one I've got on here. So we went with this one. So I'm going to do the same again. And then, as I say, I chose not to use the green because there was no green in here and I didn't want to add another colour. So I just went for one of these, and I'm going to use this one. And again, I did the same. You know, you cut it, you get the dark green bottle, the label for the insert for the front, the label, and you just pop them together. So rather than just cutting the ones that I needed, I did a whole set just out of the scraps. Again, great for scrap busting, and I will just keep the surplus ones of these in the packet with the die, and they're there for use in future. So we'll go with the same two this time, and I just decided that I wanted to add a couple of these, you know, just little potion bottles on my design. You may want to omit these, you may want to embellish it in a more normal way if it's going to be for another occasion. You know, you could replace this embellishment with flowers or stars. If you wanted to focus on the cat, it could be little paw prints here. You know, lots and lots of different ways of actually sort of changing this to suit another occasion. So what we're going to do then is we're going to pop the little kitty on. So I'm just going to grab my tweezers because he is only small. And I'm going to flick now from my all-purpose glue to my, what I call my embellishment glue, which is the acrylic glue, just because it dries a bit quicker. And when I'm sticking embellishments on, I want them to stay where they are. So I've cut the cat out and his eyes are actually blank. And all I've done is stick a tiny, again, little scrap out of the box, little bit of rose gold mirror card. And you can just see he's got those lovely shiny eyes like the cats have when they're in the dark. So yeah, that's my embellishments. And we're going to just put a bit of glue, getting right to the end of this. This is the first bottle of the Nouveau that I opened. Can't remember when I got it now, earlier in the year, but it seems to have lasted ages. I'm just going to go around the back of here with a little bit of the glue, and then we're going to sit him as if he's sitting. I wanted this to look as if it was like a shelf, so I'm going to pop him just below here on there like that. And then I've got, where's my bit of got a bit of wax paper there. Is that it? Yep, excuse me. And I'm just going to use the shiny side of that to just press him down so that the glue doesn't stick to it there. There we go. And if there is any glue seeped out there, we can just remove that. It does dry clear, the glue, but I like to just take out any that seeps out of the edge there. And then I've got the grey bottle in the background. So that one's going to go flat. So again, we're going to put just a few dabs of the acrylic glue on there. And this one's going to sit right at the bottom here, just overlapping the edge of the design. And then I want a tiny little foam pad to go on the back of this one, just to raise it slightly over. And this is the only dimension that's going to be on this particular card. So yeah, we've just got that little bit there. And I'm going to pop that one over the top, so it's just raised forward a little tiny bit like so. Okay. And that's pretty much as good as it got there. So let's pop this on here. Now, I took this from a strip of sentiments here. And I might have a look through here and see if there is, because I have got another Lucky as a State of Mind. And I might look through here and see if there's something suitable for the boys to put on the front of here. I'm not going to decorate the sentiment at the minute. I've also got a Happy Halloween, which I could cut down and probably matte in the black. In fact, we'll do that and just have a look at it and see, because I've got some black scraps here at the side of me. We'll just grab one of those. I'll cut this down a little bit. So let me just move that one to the side. Yeah, these are ones that I stamped out and I haven't used. And if I'm stamping out anything like this, I've got loads of scraps at the side of me. I usually stamp 2 or 3 of them so that I've got spares if I need them. So I want to take just a fraction off, and it is literally a sliver. Just, it didn't look quite straight. And then I'm also going to chop it down this way as well. So we'll go for there and there. So we've got that one at the ready. And then we can mount this onto some black. And I think what I'm going to do with that is just pop a little tiny bit. I'm going to use the brown ink because it has got an undertone of orange. In fact, if I use my vintage photo, it's got even more of an undertone of orange. And again, just what's left on the dauber there. And go around the edge of the white part before we stick it onto the black there. And then I'm going to pop some glue on the back of here and mount that onto the black, and I think that will look okay. As I say, I'm not sure yet what sentiment I'm going to put on it for the boys. I want to have a look through the other bit and see if there's anything suitable, but this will come in for another project. It'll go into the Halloween stash, and even if it's used next year, it's still there to be used okay. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to take I like my big long scissors for this when I'm cutting the sentiment, so that I can get a long, not so much that side, but when I'm going down here, let's do the ends first. I like to do quite a big long sweep. So the long scissors allow you to do that reasonably straight. Never get these even. I am the world's worst at cutting by hand. I'm okay with fussy cutting. I think that looks okay. I can live with that. So we've got a bit of scrap left. This can go in the bin there. And again, it may be this one that I have on here. And then, the question arises is, do I want it in the same place? So we'll give it a little audition as to whether it goes up here. If I put it down here, it's going to cover the tape up. It's a little bit big to fit there, I think. So yeah, I think it probably will need to go just slightly offset if I use that one up there, like so. So if I decide to go with Happy Halloween, which I probably will do, because I don't think there's much else on here that's suitable for the not Halloween sentiments. So I think I probably will go with this one and just pop it on like so. And then all I've added, as always, is 3 black gems, just to, sort of, things are not finished in my world without, even for Halloween, they still have to have the black on them. I was toying between the orange, but I love the fact that his eyes are just that shiny orange. And then we've got 3 little black gems on there. So it wanted something here, definitely. This one is actually paler in the background. So this one had a bit more colour in it. So this definitely needs a couple of pearls on it, and one up here if we decide to go with the Happy Halloween. So that is my card for today. Like I said, very, very simple on this one. I didn't want to go too wild with it. And then I've got one more project for you, which will be for Halloween itself. And that'll be the last one of these. And I do appreciate those of you that have stayed with me, because not everybody, I know not everybody's into Halloween. Tried to put, tip it on its head this year by including some things that weren't necessarily Halloween looking, even though we used Halloween stash. But yeah, I appreciate those of you that have stayed with me and that have continued watching and commenting and liking. Thank you for the support, and I'm hoping that those of you that aren't so bug on Halloween will rejoin me again at the beginning of November when we get back into the normal run of things. So I'm going to leave it there for today. You can see we've got the one there. I'll put this one on top with the lucky is a state of mind. And as I say, I'm going to send one of these, well, I'm going to do this one that we've just made for the boys and send that off to them for their Halloween make. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for today. I have got another video to film, as I say, for Halloween, which is a bit different. So I'm going to try and get that done as well, although it is very gloomy here today. Hoping the light's okay. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be back very soon. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.